Hey yo, what's poppin', man? Hope you guys are doing great. I'm doing pretty good. Tiring day, tiring week, but it's cool. We're back. And yeah, so let me talk about this screenshot right here. Very, very interesting screenshot to look at. Give me a second. Just want to make sure we're recording. 15 seconds in. Cool. Very interesting screenshot. And we have a lot to cover about this one, but I will make it in a couple of videos because there's no way I'm going to be able to elaborate and explain properly all of these entries in just one video. It'll be literally close to an hour long, okay? Because I like to be very thorough, very in-depth. Give me 1 second. Alright, so what we're going to be covering in this video is probably going to be these guys up in here. Very, very close by, some of these trades, but when you understand the operation of time frames, you'll understand it very well. And probably things like, oh wait, no, this one was over here. So yeah, we won't be covering this. I'll cover this one, perhaps. If we have time, I'll cover this one. But what I really want you guys to focus on is why, the reason behind it. I want you guys to understand how I'm being so quick, how I'm being so flexible with the storyline changes, how I'm being so flexible with using the daily to coincide with the weekly and the monthly, even when, for example, so let me give you an example. Let me speak first and then I'll give you a proper example, right? Even when we have the weekly going against the monthly, I'm still looking at things like the daily to go together with the monthly bearish storyline. So I'll give you an example. Monthly is bearish, weekly is also bearish, but then weekly turns bullish, but then daily turns bearish after the weekly turns bullish, and how we use both the monthly and the daily together as something that gives us power over the weekly that just turned bullish. Because the weekly is the one that turned bullish against a monthly and a daily bearish. You see what I'm trying to say? So we have two time frames working against one. We should be relying on what? We should be relying on the stronger, more superior time frames, which is the monthly being bearish. Yes, the weekly is bullish, but the monthly is bearish, number one. Number two, the daily is also just turned bearish as well. So let's talk about some of the cluster of trades in here. And as you can see from this, I actually missed the top trade here, and yet I was like, nope, I'm going to make the most out of this opportunity right here. And I still went for it, right? And yeah, see, I missed this top trade, but let's talk about it real quick. Okay, so this is the area that we're going to be focusing on for this video. If we have time, I'll get into the reason why I entered over here. So I'm going to talk about why I entered, guys. Okay, this is what is on the tip of everybody's tongue. Okay, why I entered and all of these things. Now, first thing you want to understand is that we were in this place. We were in a monthly bearish storyline. How did we know that? Well, we have ourselves a monthly resistance. Why is this a resistance? Open, close. Watch my first or second video. I can't even remember this point. We have ourselves a monthly resistance, and in this monthly resistance, we not only had ourselves a monthly reject monthly, but if we go to the weekly, we had ourselves a breakout, right? Well, we rejected over here and we finally did breakout over here. If you want to keep things a bit loose, if you want to keep things a bit more flexible, over here would be the break on the weekly as well, right? We had ourselves a weekly. Just keep it very simple, guys. All right, we had ourselves a monthly reject monthly. Because of the monthly reject monthly, we had ourselves a weekly resistance, but because of this weekly resistance, we never actually broke out. We never actually had a bearish break, okay, on the weekly. Because why do we need a bearish break on the weekly? Because we have a monthly bearish storyline, so we need a weekly bearish break, correct? We never had that, okay? But over here we had ourselves this pattern. You always want to look for a breakout with this pattern. This is the pattern you always want to focus on for the breakout. You do not want to look so much at again, I'm talking about reversals, right? So you see how we were buying, and then we reversed. We don't really necessarily want to look for breakouts like this when it comes to a reversal, right? When it comes to a continuation, that's a completely different story. So again, this is where you learn certain things. We haven't even got into the point of today's video, but here's where you learn certain other things, right? When it comes to a continuation trade, okay, it's okay. It's okay to have these things. Like over here, we had a weekly. Remember how I just showed you? Let me show you one more time because people say I go too fast, right? We had ourselves a weekly support, okay? And when price came in, touched the weekly, reject weekly, and we had a breakout here, this is all of a sudden fine. You see, we had something like this. This is absolutely fine to consider as a breakout. So don't be confused, guys. Don't keep things very, very simple. Weekly reject weekly. Okay, so look, weekly support, right? Weekly reject weekly, correct? What was the high that caused the weekly reject weekly? Answer that question. Is this the high that caused the weekly reject weekly? Yes, this this resistance here, correct? We just want it broken. Does it matter if this resistance gets tapped first or it's unfresh? Let's say this wick goes and touches it. It doesn't matter. It's a resistance and we want it broken. Very simple. Look, this is a resistance, correct? This is a resistance, but it got tapped here first. It's unfresh resistance. Price comes and breaks it. Is it still valid? Yes, it's still a valid break. Absolutely. You wouldn't be taking any entries for a sell here, sure, but this is still absolutely a valid breakout. Okay, keep things very simple. A breakout is a breakout. We don't care about whether it broke out of something fresh or unfresh. Anyway, let's get into the point of today's video. All right, so you know we had ourselves a monthly reject monthly. We have ourselves a weekly break. If you want to follow things very strictly, this would have been the break. Why this one? Because this was the low sell buy that caused the high. Why it's so significant about this high? This is the high that did the monthly reject monthly. Okay, cool. Very easy, very simple for the storyline. Let's get into the freaking entries. All right. Now, what happened over here? I could see price didn't actually reach my weekly. Now, I'm telling you guys what happened on the day I saw the charts. When I look in hindsight, you can come up with things like, oh, Avi, on the far left, there was this guy over here. Look, can't this act like a left shoulder? To me, no. If you want to pull things and make new things, make new rules, please be my guest. But let's not try and revolutionize some of these things, all right? This is not something that I would consider, oh, we can take a trade from. Yes, it reacted, and it definitely reacted wholly, right? It reacted, but I did not consider that, and I will never consider that as a valid area for us to place a trade. Never will I consider that, ever. Okay? So let's keep that very, very honest, okay? So why did I place the sell? If you were to look at the screenshot, I placed the sell. Not up there, but why did I place the sell down here? What made me go, oh, damn, I missed it. Let me place the sell. Very, very simple. Now, I know what we are in a monthly bearish. So first thing I want to look at is the weekly time frame. Okay, we understand price didn't actually reach anything on the weekly time frame. Another time frame we want to look at is the monthly. So let's clear the higher time frames first. Let's clear the damn thing out. Okay, let's clear it out. I forgot where we were. I think we were in here. Monthly time frame, there's absolutely nothing. There's a left shoulder. Price already reacted from it, right? Absolutely nothing about there. If you want to go and line this up and see what's popping up over there, you can, right? This would have been an absolutely valid trade on the lower time frame, but we entered somewhere around here, right? So we go and we check what the hell happened in here. Nothing on the monthly, correct? We checked that it's too low for the weekly, correct? Okay, let's go to the daily and let's find out what exactly happened. We have this over here. We have a left shoulder. We have an apex. We have a support break become resistance. It's a SVR. Right? Daily reject daily. Now check this out. Let's forget this. Let's check this out. Monthly is bearish, correct? Okay, let's go weekly. Let's go weekly. Weekly, before price came into this daily, actually turned bullish. How do I know that? Well, we have ourselves a weekly support, price never reached, but we have ourselves a weekly open close. And in this weekly open close, if you were to extend the line, let's go and see, right, what happened on the daily. Obviously, this weekly rejected off this, right? Let's go and see what happened on the daily. God's sakes, man, it's tough recording these videos for you guys. Seriously, it's tough, bro. Make sure everything's fine, everything's fine. All right, everything's good, hopefully. I'm just gonna pray that everything's good, bro. Anyway, where were we, bro? All right. If we were to look at this, right, this was where the weekly was. We had ourselves a breakout, correct? Boom, we had ourselves a breakout. So weekly was actually had turned bullish, which is exactly why, guys, which is exactly why we had ourselves the buys play out nicely, pretty nicely, right? This nice intradays playing out pretty damn nicely from this weekly buy. Okay, see, this daily had broken out bullish. From where? From the weekly reject weekly. As a result, daily breaks out bullish, creates the very strong area for us to buy from, which is the daily support. Why? Because this daily support was created from as a result of the weekly reject weekly. Very nice area for us to buy. As you can see, easily if you're an intraday trader, over 100 pips you would have gotten, but you would have cashed out at 100 pips because you're an intraday trader. You take nothing more. And then price comes up over here onto the daily. Now, when you're in a monthly okay, so let's take monthly bearish because that's the example that we're using here. When you're taking a monthly bearish, correct? Even a daily reject daily resistance. So listen to my words. Even when you are taking a monthly bearish, even if you have a daily reject daily resistance, you want to pay more attention to that. Now, why am I making such a big issue out of this? Because I told you guys, one second. I told you guys that when we have a monthly reject monthly and a monthly bearish storyline, you want to be paying attention to the weekly. And I'm absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You will be paying most of your attention to the weekly. But in this case, we didn't have that. We had ourselves a daily before the weekly. So this is the reason why I didn't just take a touch trade off of here immediately. You could say, oh, Avi, you just missed it. Maybe I missed it, bro. I can't even remember. Maybe you're right. Maybe I missed it. But even if I didn't miss it, I would not take a sell immediately off of the daily. And let me explain why. Because right above the daily, we have the weekly. So I don't know. I can't just set a limit here daily, and I set another limit in the weekly, and I set another limit at this weekly. I can't keep doing that. Above this daily is a weekly. And I don't like the fact that that's the case. I don't like the fact that above the daily, there's the weekly. So what do I do in this case? If I were to have just waited, we would have missed out on 1,000 pips, right? So what did I do instead? This is why I talk a lot, guys, because I want you guys to understand all these different avenues of flexibility. For you idiots out there, I'm sorry I have to use such strong language, but that's what you guys are. For you idiots out there that don't like when I go on and on about the same thing or elaborate so much in depth about a certain thing, right? I'm doing this for the people who actually have a brain cell at the very least. Right? I'm sorry, because I get very pissed off when I see things like this, because how are people that... Anyway, sorry, let's move on. So I will have to take blood pressure medication, otherwise I'll freaking die. All right, so we have ourselves a daily. Now I told you guys already we will pay attention to some of these things, but I wouldn't take a touch trade, and I told you guys the reason why, because right above it we have ourselves a weekly resistance. Okay, so what did I do instead? I said, okay, if I wanted to take into account price holding or price making a swing point from this daily resistance, I'm going to wait for a daily bearish storyline to confirm. And guess what happened? Daily reject daily, and you freaking know we already had a H4 breakout. But anyway, let's go and look at the H4 regardless. Daily reject daily, right? Let's go look at the H4. Boom. Immediately we already have, like right there, we have ourselves the breakout. In case you didn't know, right? But if you want to look at the candlesticks like me, you want to be a bit quick. Buy, sell, that's a resistance breaks, sell, buy, that says support, and support, boom, breaks because of the buy sell. So that's just the breakout, just a simple support is created here, sell, buy, is a support, break. Simple. H4 has broken out. What does that confirm, my friends? That has confirmed for us that we have ourselves a daily bearish storyline. And why is this daily bearish storyline important? Even though we don't have the weekly, because we can say, okay, even though there's a weekly above, you know, I would prefer to wait for that one, right? Even though there's a weekly above, but you know, it's giving us a reason over here that we could play from. Unfortunately, price just swung like huge. Okay, so what I did was very simple. I kept my cool, I kept my calm. I know that after every breakout, there will be some form of a retracement. You know, sometimes price doesn't go your way. Sometimes price just breaks and retests it, just like this one. See how it breaks out over here? Buy, sell, resistance breaks, but price comes and rejects off of this guy. It doesn't come back and reject off of here. Sometimes price does that. When every single day, when the day ends and the candle closes, the next day you wake up, check where the previous day's candle has rejected off of. That's what I do. Same thing with the weekly candlestick. Same thing with the monthly candlestick. After every month, check the next month. Where did she reject off of? Daily, where did she reject off of? Weekly, same bloody thing, right? If you wake up and be, price didn't even come here, and you just forgot about the damn price, you just went on and I don't know what you did, right? Price would have gone without you. But here you realize, oh, wait a minute, daily reject daily. Let's see if there's a H4 breakout. Oh, no H4 breakout. Maybe there's just a H4 new support. Maybe I could just take it like that, medium risk trade and that. Okay, you take her. And boom, she goes. Whatever storyline that would have followed, right? Coming back to this, I see we have ourselves the daily bearish storyline. Okay, so what was created? What were the areas that we could use? Well, we had ourselves a SBR, we have ourselves a left shoulder, and of course the apex. Now I want to be quick with my time over here, so let's talk about these two areas. So we have ourselves two dailies, correct? Boom, let's go into the H4. Let's see whether we can take ourselves, refine ourselves a nice touch trade. Let's go to the H4. All right, go to the H4. We can see this is the SBR. Now there's nothing really clean for the SBR, because the reason I say there's nothing really clean for the SBR is because we have ourselves the SBR over here, which is the daily. Above it we have this cluster of left shoulders. 1, 2, 3. God damn, which one do I want to take? Okay, let's see what happens on the H1 anyway. Let's just see if there's anything. We always want to check, just check, for God's sakes. Anything? Man, this is I'm telling you what's going on through my head. There's just so many. You know, it's a cluster. It's too much. right? And not to forget about that, we have two other zones that price could potentially react from. Correct? When we have cases like this, I like to take the cleanest one. I like to take away one entire zone. So what do I mean by I like to take away one entire zone? Let me go to the daily and let's talk about these zones that we're about to take away. This is where your freaking experience comes into play. We have 1, 2, 3. Fine, let me just draw this zone as well, right? Let me just make a little bit of a difference so you guys can see the difference, and then we draw a zone. Okay? These are 3 zones. When we have things like this, a cluster, a goddamn cluster, I like to take away one, and it's usually the lowest one I like to take away. If you guys want, you can create an entire plan which says, I don't play from SBRs and RBSs, I only play from left shoulders and apex. You want to make a plan like that? Boom, go ahead. You want to know something interesting? I didn't just pull the one out my behind. That is something that I did when I first started trading. My first 5 months of trading, I always talk about the first 5-6 months, right? I only played from left shoulder, only played from apex. Yes, I missed a couple of trades. Who gives a damn, right? That's what I did. Okay, anyway, from here, then what I did was very simple. I went to the H4, and you know how this pans out, but I will show you regardless. We have ourselves, this is the daily, right? Ourselves the H4, we have these 2 areas right in here. Let's see whether we have ourselves a H1, because the last thing I want is for us to go play from a H1 and then price just goes 40 pips above and just stops me out regardless, right? Over here we have ourselves the H4 daily, and all I did was that I saw we had ourselves a H1 left shoulder, MTF with the H4, MTF with the daily, and there's another H1 right here as well at the top, right? So this is what I did. Genuinely, this is what I did. All I did was set a limit here, set a limit right here. Now a lot of people are going to wonder, but Avi, that's unfresh, right? Hold on, give me a second. This is exactly what I did. So I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by splitting the entries, right? So let's say you would use a 0.50. I would simply do something like this: 0.40, 0.10, 0.25, 0.25, 0.20, 0.30. I would do something like that, right? So in this case, let's just say you would use 0.50, let's assume 0.40, 0.10, no problem, right? And same over here, you would have yourself your 30 pip SL, 32 pip SL, and over here you would have your same 30, 32 pip SL. If you want to do 35 pips, absolutely, but in my personal opinion, I don't think you should get into the practice of having more than 35 pips as a stop loss. 35 pips, okay, that's the most you should go to. That's my personal opinion, right? I have done that before. I have actually done 35 pip stop losses before, but I prefer to have a better RR nowadays. So I go like 20, sometimes 16 pips, sometimes 25, sometimes 30, 32, things like that. And again, that comes with experience. So this is your daily. We can delete that now. We already know we're in the daily, and these are the 2 areas that you could have, entered from basically. And so yeah, if you have yourself your little 32 pip stop loss right there, that would have been your entry. So you know, right? This is where you would have your other entry possibility, things like that. And guys, don't fret, right? Don't fret, because if you missed this trade right here, we would have just done a daily reject daily. If we would have just done a daily reject daily, and then the next day you would have taken it. In this case, price didn't do the daily reject daily. price just sort of rammed right through. Okay, now this is the question. This is the damn question people want to ask. Does this make the storyline invalid, right, when price breaks through? No, it doesn't, because we still have it's still within this entire thing. We've still done a daily reject daily. We've still done a H4 bearish breakout. Price, if price breaks, right, and doesn't do a daily reject daily, the only thing that should go through your head is, okay, the next day I can't look for continuations, right? Or let's say you didn't take this touch trade. This is some of the special cases, right? With everything in life, nothing is 100% foolproof. These are some of the instances, these are some of the instances where price doesn't respect 100%. And you're never going to get that 100% respect, right? So that's where you go. If you always play from hidden bases, you're never going to get a scenario where price always plays to the extreme of the hidden base. Sometimes price will play from the inefficiency, or 50% of the inefficiency. If you were to play order blocks, right, there's never a time when price will always, just always, when price breaks out, right, price breaks out over here, see? Price breaks out here, wherever. There's never going to be a case where price always returns back to the extreme and then sells off. Never, bro. Never, ever, ever is that going to be the case. Always, all the time, Same thing with this. Look, we have ourselves if you were to talk about SMC, SMC, There's a breaker here. Price never comes back to play off of this OB. This is a perfectly fresh OB. If you were to check, if you think I'm lying, it's a perfectly fresh OB. How come price never comes back to test it? And when it does, it just cuts through. Individuals who understand storyline will know we got to be flexible, right? So very simple. If this ever happens, we're still in a daily bearish, okay? You need to understand that it just means that in the next day you shouldn't be taking any more sells because it didn't do a nice closing. It didn't do a daily reject daily, H4 new resistance, and then you take a sell. It didn't do something like that. Okay, so that was my first entry right here. And if you were to check, that is absolutely my first entry at the very top. I took 2 entries. I'm not too sure why there were 2 entries, but anyway, I took 2 entries. And yeah, that's it. So then we had some more. That we had another 2 entries over here. So I'm not too sure exactly whether I took an entry off of. Okay, yeah, I know. I remember. Okay, so cool. That was my first entry, right? All right, cool. So my second entry, or your second entry, could have been from this open close right in here. So you would have taken it in this candle, right? But I believe my entry was right in here. Okay, and as you can see, the candle printing is different, right? There's a body that closes above it, whatever. But yeah, I took my entry from this one, and I believe it was a touch trade as well. Does it matter that price broke out? See how there's the break here? The daily? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. There's just a daily resistance. We're in a monthly bearish. There's nothing on the weekly that we could take into account right now. But the daily is definitely in a bearish storyline, right? And if it wasn't in a bearish storyline over here, for whatever reason you didn't count this, or you didn't place more emphasis on this being the bearish storyline, right? It definitely would have been around this area, or in this area here, daily reject, daily H4 breakout, blah blah. Right, definitely would have been there. If you missed that one, I mean, there's just so many opportunities, right? There's just so many opportunities for you to capitalize off of. Okay, not saying I took these because I didn't. If you were to look at this as proof, I didn't take those because maybe they weren't clear to me, whatever reasons. But over here we have ourselves a daily resistance. So we want to take a look. This is clean. See, these are clean things that I'm looking at, right? These are very obvious things. So anyway, let's go to the H4 and let's see what's popping off over there. I believe I took it as a touch trade. No, I definitely took it as a touch trade. So I'm not sure whether it prints things differently. You guys will have to go and check your MT4s. Over here we have ourselves a H4 resistance. Now here's another bit of experience for you guys, or another bit of advice or suggestions from you guys, from me to you guys, based on my experience. When you have a resistance or a support and there's a huge long wick above it, see, like this where you have a support and there's a huge long wick below it, it's likely that you shouldn't be taking a sell from here. There's a higher chance that you probably shouldn't be taking a sell from here. Right? There's definitely going to be something hidden here. And if there isn't, go and check your other broker. Right? So again, I used my MT4, I believe it was IC Markets or something, or maybe Hop Forex. So I'm not sure. I'm just going to hope that price actually printed something good. Yeah, it did. So we have ourselves our daily over here. I believe I got stopped out. I most definitely did get stopped out over here. Okay, well, if you were to have had a 32 pip stop loss or a 35 pip stop loss, you wouldn't have actually been stopped out from this left shoulder. Why am I looking at this left shoulder? First of all, you need to understand this is in a daily zone. That's what this black line delineates. Inside the daily zone, we didn't have a H4 that looked clean, but we did have ourselves a H1 left shoulder. We have ourselves a H1 left shoulder that lines up with an open close, and we have ourselves the apex. I believe that I actually got stopped out on this one, though. I'm not going to lie, because otherwise you would see 2 entries. But regardless, obviously my other opportunity would be to have taken it from these 2 areas. So how I would have drawn the zone would have been something like this. This is how I would have probably drawn the zone. I can't remember, but this is how I probably would have done it. And then, you could combine some trend lines. I'm not even sure what trend line I used. Just looking at the charts right now, I think you probably could have used this one. No, you couldn't have. So, okay, cool. Just try and find something that lines up, right? So there we go. This one perfectly lines up. So if price were to print like this, right, you see you have yourself this zone, right? You see how price perfectly lines up. Oh, one more thing I want to say. A lot of people out there, bro, not a lot of people, that was actually just like 2 people. Yeah, 2 people very vocal in the comment section about how my trend lines are super hindsight, and it's like I'm just throwing a trend line on the chart in hindsight. Go and look at my Telegram channel, link in description. Go and look at my Telegram channel on my latest entries, bro. Right? You think that you're trying to play a game, right? You think that they're just what do you call this thing? Hindsight. Go and look at my trend line plays over here, bro. I took a trade because of a freaking trend line. Do you know how long it's been since I've done that stuff? Right? So, man, sit down, bro. You know what I'm trying to say? But anyway, let's move on to this. So you guys get it, right? First of all, we had ourselves the daily. Let me go and show you guys the daily again. Oh, Avi, you're moving your chart too much. You're moving your mouse too much. You're speaking too fast. Man, shut your dumb ass up, bro. Right? We have ourselves a resistance, okay, from the daily. Why are we looking at this? Because we're in a daily bearish storyline. Why are we placing so much emphasis on a daily bearish storyline? Because we have a monthly bearish storyline to back that up. Right? So we have ourselves a daily. We're going to go to the H4, look for anything that can line up together with the H4. Okay, first of all, we can see that this H4 right here is actually below the daily. So how can this be a refinement? So ignore the damn thing. So we have ourselves our daily line over here. Okay, but there's nothing on the H4. No problem. Let's be flexible. Let's go to the H1 and see what's popping over there. Right? We head over to the H1. Avi, you're zooming too much. Shut. Okay, look. We have ourselves H1 left shoulder as a refinement. We have this guy. Again, if you would have had a 32 pip stop loss, you would have been fine. I think I got stopped out. Anyway, H1 left shoulder coupled with the open and close, excuse me. We have ourselves the apex as well. But over here, I want to give myself an extra reason for us to enter from this area. H1 MTF daily. We have ourselves a beautiful trend line to match with that. I'm not sure if you could have pulled something like this. I don't know. Maybe. No, you couldn't have. But anyway, as I said, when it comes to trend lines, it's incredibly subjective because the only thing you need to do with a trend line is understand that it comes from the body. Very simple. And the only other thing you need to understand with the trend line is that you just need it as a confluence for a rough area that price can come and touch at and reject. That's really it. That's all you really need when it comes to your trend line confluence for now. For the basics, that's all you need. Okay. And yeah, this sort of comes in together, right? You don't need it to be perfect. Like you see, this one is perfect in there, right with the zone. You don't need it like that. If it's like that, great. You know, props to you for finding that, but you don't need it like that. Okay, let's move on. So yeah, that was the entry, and I hope you guys understood that guy. So yeah, I've already talked about this entry. We've talked about this entry now. Let's see what more we have, what more we could fill our time with, right? So we had these two entries, beautiful entries. Actually, you can see I did have two entries in there. This was not from here. Obviously, this is the latest. We're not going to talk about this. This is incredibly advanced. But we'll talk about this. What's the time? What's the time looking like, man? Time is looking like 26 minutes. Oh, we have time. I've made 50-minute videos before. You guys can wait. Okay, cool. So yeah, this was an entry that I missed for a very good reason because we had a weekly above. So I was a bit unsure. I don't want to risk, right? And I waited for the daily bearish storyline to happen. That happened. Not only did a daily bearish storyline happen, but it was a daily bearish breakout, you know, which was sudden, right? And that's a very good sign. And so I took it. I took that opportunity. Unfortunately, I couldn't compile. I couldn't make some more trades over here. That's okay. Again, we just hold it, you know. If you're an intraday, listen, whatever I've shown you guys in this video, if you're an intraday trader, you would have made racks, right? So, you know, you would have made racks from this one. If you didn't take that, no problem. You would have made racks from this. It's all 50 to 100 pips and more, bro. Like I'm talking about, this is a swing trade. I'm breaking down swing trades because I do swing trading. That's all I do, okay? What did I want to talk about? We had another one up in here. We talked about that. Okay, yeah. So we want to talk about this guy right here, right? Okay, so let's talk about this guy then. So understand something. It's not just about, oh, entry, Avi, go into entry. No, it's not all about that, bro. You need to understand the storyline of the entire thing. Okay, so let's talk about that, man. All right, so we already know that we're in a monthly bearish. Let me go to the monthly. Let me show you that there's nothing monthly could bounce off of. And I'll show you the same thing for the weekly. So we already know that we're in a monthly bearish. There's nothing for the monthly. We're in right here, okay? There's nothing for the monthly to bounce off of. This is a monthly support that's been tested. This is a monthly support that's been broken through. This has been tested already, so nothing on the monthly. Move on to the weekly. Let's take a look at the weekly. So again, as I said, we're around here. How did I get this buy right here, right? How did I get that? Why did I take it like that? Okay, cool. Things like that. Yeah, again, showing you guys on the weekly, there's nothing weekly could have bounced off of. All of these guys have been broken through, tested, blah, blah. Okay, nothing on the weekly. So here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. I took a buy, that means. So there's nothing on the monthly, nothing on the weekly for my buy, but I took the buy purely based on the daily. And again, I'm not telling you guys these are the trades you need to take. These are advanced trades. But you guys asked for my trade breakdowns, and I'm giving you guys my trade breakdowns. Okay, so you know what I mean? I give you guys what you want. Okay, cool. So look, we had ourselves nothing on the weekly, nothing on the monthly. Why did I look at the daily? Very, very simple. I know that if price were to make its next swing point, it's probably going to be off of the weekly, if not off of the monthly and weekly. Why? Because we have ourselves what? a monthly bearish storyline. And when we have ourselves a monthly bearish storyline, can't you observe where are the major swing points happening? Weekly. This one arguably daily. Fair enough. If you counted this one, no problem, weekly. But if you're me, no, not weekly, right? Where did this one happen from? This one happened from the monthly. See how I told you guys it either happens off of the weekly or it happens off of the monthly. It didn't actually touch this area, right? So that's one thing you need to understand as well. When you have a monthly, your whole job, right, as a swing trader is to catch the swing points. And the only way for you to know where the swing points are going to come from is from understanding. For example, you're on a monthly bearish, you would understand, okay, let me be careful or let me be aware of weekly areas. Let me be extra aware of monthly and weekly areas. You see what I'm trying to say? And yeah, sure, also take into account some dailies, but there's a higher likelihood that price is not going to swing or create a swing point from a daily when you have a monthly bearish storyline. You see how simple that is. When you have a monthly bearish storyline and you want to catch the swing point, right? These are all swing points. So you call them points. They're all swing points. When you want to catch those, you want to pay attention to the weeklies. Okay? Because it's a monthly bearish storyline. All right? Cool. Now let's take a look at this. I understood that if I wanted to look at a buy over here, I would have to be careful of this area, even though price ran through. I didn't know that price was going to run through at that time, right? But I had to be careful of something like that. Okay? And I had to be careful of all of these guys going up too. All of these guys going up. Right? Now, let me take a look. Let me first of all show you why I waited at this area. I'll show you guys why I waited at this area. Very simple. Doesn't mean I didn't try anything in between. I'm very sure I tried stuff in between too. But I'm telling you guys why I would have waited for this area up here. When we talk about open close, yes, like this is just a standalone open close. There's nothing else to it. But I prefer open close SNR that is together with engulfing. I've talked about this, I think, in my first or second video. Right? This is a bullish engulfing candle or a bullish order block, correct? And what happens when that gets broken? This is the candle that broke through it. It becomes a bullish engulfing fail, correct? Or an engulfing fail, correct? And when we have an open close that is in that zone of the engulfing fail or the engulfing, look at this one. This is a bearish engulfing, right? And we have what? Let me just draw it with a brush. Boom. I like choosing these levels. I like choosing these levels. These are the levels I prefer. These are the levels I prefer to choose. These are the OHLC levels that I prefer to choose. Same thing with this. Like if we were to draw like this one here too. And it may look like I'm cherry picking, but this is what works. So I'm being honest with you guys, right? This is a bullish engulfing, correct? But then it gets broken. Why? By this candle here. And there so happens to be a open close right there. These are the ones that I prefer. Are there going to be instances where these fail? Yeah, sure. Look, this one failed. This one never held, right? But this is the thing that I'm trying to get you guys into, right? It's not about what fails or anything like that. It's about probability. Okay, be a probabilistic trader. That's the trader you should be. So anyway, over here we had ourselves the bullish engulfing fail. We had ourselves an open close. So I was waiting there anyway. So why did I look for a buy here, even though we're in bearish? Now I understood that this is the weekly, right? Again, I'm going to go to the weekly. Avi, you switch time frames too much. I dislike the video. I don't care. Right? We had ourselves a weekly bearish SNR, correct? Now, this is an area I should be pretty careful of. However, understand something. We do not have any daily fresh resistance, correct? Do we have any daily fresh resistance? No, we don't. Be straight with me. We do not have that here, okay? So even though this is a weekly, okay, that's fine, that's good, right? Maybe there's something on the H4, H1 we can MTF for a touch trade, maybe. But understand that there's nothing on the daily. So if price comes in over here on the daily and there's a daily reject daily, you're not going to count that as a daily bearish storyline because there's no daily fresh resistance, correct? Okay, done. Over here, what I saw was very simple. Price, broke out a bunch on the weekly. This is all what went through my head. Nothing really rules based. Just that price broke out a bunch on the weekly. I was thinking it's probably time. Price is probably going to retrace for a little bit. How can I get 50 to 100 pips even? I'll be happy with that, right? And so I saw over here we had ourselves a daily bullish breakout. Does that mean that there's a daily bullish storyline? No, it freaking doesn't. No, it does not mean that we have a daily bullish storyline. But we do have ourselves a daily bullish breakout. And so I simply took the touch trade off of this area right here. And depending on your broker, it may or may not have touched, but over here it touched, I believe. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm a liar, bro. But yeah, it did touch over here. Yeah, it did. Some brokers it may have missed. That's unfortunate. Again, that's a broker fault, not my fault, not a your fault. It's a broker fault. But anyway, over here we had ourselves this area. We had one below. We had another one below. I decided to take a touch trade. I believe now there are. Oh no. I'm gonna save this for a different video. But all I'm gonna say is this. A lot of times when I take touch trades and those touch trades end up being swing points, listen to what I'm saying. Usually when I take touch trades and those touch trades, aggressive reversals, etc., create swing points, like in this case it created a daily swing point. A lot of the times that came from high impact news. Okay, that's all I'm leaving. You guys can go and write that down. Anyway, let's move on. So over here was a daily. All I did was very simple. I just went to the H4. Again, I'm just trying to take an intraday, man. We're taking a daily, we're taking a buy when monthly is bearish, when weekly is bearish, right? So we should probably be careful about that, you know? Anyway, we had ourselves a daily. We have ourselves a H4 that's a little bit above it. And we had ourselves a hold on, I'm not sure. I think we had a H1. Yeah, we had ourselves a H1 that's a little bit above it. So now, again, this is where flexibility comes into play. Avi, what if you have, you know, the H1 and the H4 support, or the H1, or, you know, things like that? That's not actually refined. It's just slightly above it, though, Avi. It's slightly above it. Then take it. That's absolutely fine. But notice something, right? Notice something. See how it's slightly above, right? It's not like this where it's way above. It's slightly above. It's a couple pipettes or pips above. Notice how, even if you were to place a limit here, price still sort of comes down just a little bit. But why it came down was to touch that daily. You just understand that. Just keep that in your head, though, right? Keep that phenomenon in your head. Over here, black line's the daily. Black horizontal the daily. We had nothing on the H1 that's like below the daily or at the daily. Remember how I talked to you guys? Ideally speaking, we want to have the H1 and the H4 at the daily or below the daily when we're looking for buys, right? If it's a resistance, let's say this was a daily this is a daily resistance, we want to have the H4 H1 at the daily resistance or above the daily resistance, because then it's a refinement. In this case, we don't have either of that. It's not at the daily support, it's not below the daily support, it's in fact slightly above. But this is something, and something that we need to accept. You know, this can happen. And so you take your trade from here, absolutely no problem. And you have yourself your 32 pip, maybe you want 35 pip stop loss. And remember, where do you be careful of? Very, very simple. You look first at your daily, right? You don't have to worry too much about the daily because this daily has already been tested, okay? And you don't have to worry about any other dailies over here, but you do need to be worried about this weekly. Price may react. And so, yeah, you take your price over here, you know, dailies over here already done. And, you know, once you have this daily reject daily, looking at that daily bullish candle, you can already tell we had ourselves a breakout. So this was the last high. See, it's so simple. This is the last high that touched into the daily. I want to see a break of this. Obviously, we break. Obviously, we don't even need to look at the line chart. We break, obviously. So, yeah, that's that. Now, over here's the weekly. If you want to take something, you know, in line with the monthly, weekly, you can try it. Over here we have the weekly. We don't have anything on the daily. We don't have anything fresh. Look at the fresh. Don't have anything fresh on the H4, so we go to the H1. See anything there? I don't think I took this trade. Maybe I did, I'm not sure. This is slightly below U1. You could take that one, but over here, for example, I'm just giving you guys examples. I don't believe I took this trade. I absolutely may have, but I don't think I did. Maybe I did though. Okay. Over here, you can see we have ourselves. Again, we're talking, everybody wants to do intra, bro. I notice a lot of my viewers want to do intra trades, and that's perfectly fine because you guys are trying to pass FTMOs and prop firm challenges and stuff like that. So absolutely, I understand you guys 100%, right? So I can understand. If you guys are doing intras, bro, this strategy is going to work you wonders. You know, just don't be greedy. Perfect the skill. Perfect the skill. Get really good with the skill. I shouldn't use the word perfect. Get really good with the skill. Get very competent. Competency, that's the thing. You don't have to be great at using SNR. I'm not fantastic at using SNR, but I'm very competent. I'm very competent and I'm very flexible. I'm great at using my strategy, right? Same way how I wouldn't be great at incorporating someone else's ICT strategy. They'd be great at it, but I still am competent with, I need to try at least to be competent in smart money concepts, because then I can use that on things like Euro USD, GBP USD, whatever the case may be. So over here, yeah, have yourselves your 50 pips, you have yourselves your 100 pips. But unfortunately, what do we need to wait for, guys? Very simple question that I'm asking you. What do we need to wait for if price wants to swing? If you're a swing trader, you want to wait it to swing. What do we need to wait for? We need to wait for a weekly reject weekly, right? Because why? Weekly reject weekly and a daily bearish breakout. Because why? Because then it's in line with the monthly. And we know that's where price is going to continue from, basically. Create a swing point and continue from. So that's basically it for this video, guys. I hope you understood most of the things that I talked about. We talked about this guy, we talked about this guy. Next we can talk about this, although I think you guys already know the answer. It's very easy, but we can talk about this, no problem. And yeah, man, see you guys in the next video. I think that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed, but most importantly, I hope you guys took something away from this video. Peace out, bro. Have a great day.